Nope. This news is so exciting, there's no time for an intro. Oh, wait a second. That didn't count, right? Greetings, fellow Vita fans. This is James with PS Vita. 2 a.m. we talk about the PS Vita and all that jazz. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, blah, 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 blah. Insert pointless filler here. So for normal systems out there, or in this case, handhelds, not including the PS Vita TV, usually when they are not financially successful, in other words, not bringing enough green in for the company, or whatever color your currency is, now usually, the system in question is discontinued fairly quickly, and thus ends up being long forgotten, and oftentimes completely abandoned by both its creator and the community. Yeah, I think this picture sums up the situation pretty well. But not so with the PS Vita. Not only was it barely discontinued officially just only a couple of years ago.
Thank you, East Asia Soft Senpai.
But now we're well over a decade into the handheld's lifespan, and it's still going. Yeah, I can actually say it's still having a lifespan here. It's not on life support anymore. The community has resurrected it. And thus that leads us into today's news, which happens to be probably some of the most epic news I have ever covered after the PS Vita's inevitable discontinuation. Officially speaking here now, don't you know? Because we are taking another step into the Vita's future. And I'm just a little excited about it. Let us begin. So this news comes from AndroidAuthority.com. Wait, did I say that with enough authority? And with that name alone, you probably can guess where we're going from here. A PlayStation Vita emulator for Android is launching in just a few days. We can soon add PlayStation Vita to the list of consoles you can now emulate on Android, which of course is no doubt going to open up the PS Vita to a much wider range of people. I'm getting giddy. One of the best things about Android is that it's easy to download emulators to play your favorite console games. Except for that terrible Double Dragon Android game. It was pretty horrible. We've already seen top-notch emulators such as Earther X2 for the PS2 and Skyline for the Nintendo Switch. But we can add another emulator to this list on Sunday. Sunday! Anybody else old enough out there to get that reference? Probably not. An Android port of Vita3K PlayStation Vita emulator will be publicly released on Sunday, February the 12th. Oh, and would you look at that, they even have the timelines that they're going to be released on that day. You don't see that very often in an article. Though the bigger question is here, why not Valentine's Day? I think a lot of people would love that. Okay, I'll just stop. Developer MacDo noted in the project's Discord channel, it sounds like you shouldn't expect a Play Store release just yet, as the developer noted that an APK file and subsequent updates would be posted in the channel. The developer's message also noted a few minimum requirements, e.g. ARM64, Vulkan 1.0, Android 7.0, or higher, but stopped short of mentioning chipset, storage, and RAM requirement. Nevertheless, the developer says you should only expect to play some homebrew titles and 2D titles if your device merely meets the minimum requirement. For what it's worth, a Poco F3,
I'm saying that wrong now, aren't I?
featuring a Snapdragon 870 processor was used in development. Furthermore, the developer states that this Android port supports custom drivers on Snapdragon devices. More specifically, Adreno 600 series devices or higher are able to use the open source Turnip graphics driver for a big speed increase.
Well, that sounds pretty fast to me.
Also, they mentioned the word turnip, so now I'm hungry. Now here's a nice little touch that the article does. They give the PS Vita its well-deserved dues. You don't see that every day. Sony's ill-fated handheld beast. We're glad to see Sony's last handheld console, and hopefully it's not its last, finally being available to emulate on Android. The PlayStation Vita launched back in 2011 as a rival to the Nintendo 3DS and was an impressive hardware proposition. Playing the Dead or Alive series on it was certainly an experience back in the day. It packed an immersive level of horsepower, a touch-enabled display, which I use a lot of for DOA, a rear touchpad, and typical console controls otherwise, e.g. 2 analog sticks, face buttons, and shoulder keys. And in my personal opinion, I kinda wish Sony would have just stuck with those, but hey, that's just my opinion. I did enjoy it back on DOA, did I mention that? Sony's console fell far behind the 3DS when it came to sales, while the Japanese gaming giant didn't help matters by effectively abandoning first-party game development after a couple of years. Oh, we've never forgotten about that one, Sony. Nevertheless, the Vita hosted a variety of notable notable titles such as Teardown. Really? Did they really just call Tearaway Teardown? Killzone Mercenary, Gravity Rush, and Uncharted Golden Abyss. The console also became an indie haven thanks to titles like Fez, Undertale, Ollie Ollie, and Shovel Knight, just to name a few, because we all know the PS Vita's indie title selection is massive. Now, one key thing to note here about the emulator is still in its early stages of development, but it supports just over 400 playable games already. Either way, it's worth noting that the people behind Vita3K for Android are hobbyists, so you can expect support from them in getting Vita games running on your device, meaning they are doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. In other words, free. Oh, and would you look at that? The article is even kind enough to feature a too long didn't read category. So what the heck, I'll read it, I guess. To summarize everything up, an Android version of the Vita3K PlayStation Vita emulator will launch on Sunday, February 12th. I'm adding that part myself. This will be the first proper working PlayStation Vita emulator on Android. So this is absolutely amazing news that we have here, because this is going to open up the PS Vita to a much larger range of people. There's still a lot of individuals out there that haven't given the handheld a chance just because, well, as mentioned in the article, it was failed hardware. So having it available on the convenience of their phone is going to be very appealing to people out there. And because it's free too. Now, as excited as I am for this news, there is one major drawback to all this, and I think it's pretty obvious here. This is also going to sway more and more people from playing PS Vita games on the actual hardware. Now, that's just pure mutiny, which in my personal opinion is still the best way to experience these games. But I guess it's just the nature of the beast, because as time goes on, hardware ends up failing, and thus we have to rely more and more on emulation as the decades go by. Now, the PS Vita isn't quite that old, obviously, but it's still a fate that many consoles eventually end up going through. But now that we've gotten all that depressing stuff over with, this is still an exciting development. So everyone, mark your calendars, because as of the making of this video, the official release for the PS Vita emulator will be this Sunday, February 12th. Okay, everyone, now I would love to know, how do you feel about this? If you are into emulation, are you still planning to play your PS Vita games on an actual PS Vita, or will you eventually switch over to PS Vita emulation on your phone once it becomes more and more of a thing? And are you into emulation at all? And if you are, what are your favorite systems to emulate and games? I would make a Dead or Alive joke again, but that's already been played out. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, fellow Vita fans, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It really means a lot to me. Love you all, and I'll see you next time. This video has been brought to you in part by all of these wonderfully generous Patreon and YouTube membership supporters who help make this content possible. So a huge thank you goes out to Cham Plow, Ricardo Martinez, Donut Valley, Nintendo Switch at 2 AM, Azumara, 1488 Dental, Rizal Pliskin, Buzz Saiyan, Saban Fire, Mazgus, Tasha Monty, Eric DeWitt, Juan M. Hermosillo, That Bro, Kayonko, Hector Gonzalez, Jamie, PSP Guru, Milk Sama, Neo Arashi, Lacerated 87, No Good, Aridri, Franz Hartle, Reiko Star, Matt Fox, Bushin Ryu Cat, Jimmy Gilby, Chris Foxhound, Airkick 72, Samai 241, Meshuga 360, Werthorga, Shin Snake, Alan Iwazuk, Zakrito, Randy Azadech, Michael O'Connor, H-Hitter, Jelle, Joseph Shavak, Richard Cruz, PS Vita S, Adam Sondi, Hero Acer, Rodrigo Vera, Crazy Cat, Heston Joseph, Kevin Enright, Jared Hado, VG Legends, Clayman Malarkey, BMF, Sculpture Tugel TCG, Adam Thury, Thomas Cramet, Silica, JR, Kyle Brooks, Saul Ramirez, Phantom XRS, David Ray, Wendy K, Hemdall Imbert, and Gutter Drums. If you would be interested in supporting the channel and gaining access to a number of perks, including having your name featured on the end credits of these videos, or if you wish to remain anonymous, that can be provided too, then make sure to check the links down in the description below. I have numerous ways for you to do this down there. Can't support in this manner? Don't worry about it. I also have some affiliate links from both Amazon and PlayAsia for anyone who is interested in purchasing something from them. Basically, the way it works is so long as you use one of those links to just access their website, then anything you purchase after afterwards, a small commission will go to help support this content at no extra cost to you, the consumer. I also have channel merchandise available, and of course, as always, likes and shares can help equally as much. So let's just hope that everything goes swimmingly with this new PS Vita emulator and we don't have another PS Vita theme fiasco like we did back last week. Or even a Take-Two situation that we're constantly always going through. Oh, sorry, I forgot we're not supposed to say stuff like that.
Sorry, Take-Two.